Man, Ant is like unbelievable. I remember I probably can't say my first experience with him, like exactly word for word what he said. But what I will say about Ant is like just not knowing him and then, you know, getting to Minnesota for the first time and just seeing how like of a good of a person he is. Like I've been around assholes, like guys like I love Kobe. Kobe was an asshole, bro. Like, you know what I
mean? Julius Randle, Mark Ronson, what a crew.
This is the coolest thing I've ever been on, honestly. Like, as a dorky ass music, sports obsessed person who never gets to be asked on things like this, and to be sitting next to like a legend. Like I'd be, maybe Stevie Wonder. That's the only other person I'd be like kind of a little nervous about. I'm sorry to make you feel awkward.
No, trust me, I feel the same. I'm nervous right now.
And so. Listen, you're a legend.
You guys just got to keep talking. Mark, I wanted to first talk about your book, Night People: How to Be a DJ in New York City.
Okay.
You have a million great stories in the book. You were just telling us one about the city of Minneapolis, where Julius currently plays.
Yes.
Would you mind sharing?
Yeah. Well, I have a couple. So obviously we're talking about Minneapolis, and think of cities because of music. So obviously with with Minneapolis, it's Prince and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. But Prince was out a lot in the 90s in New York City. So I wrote this book, Night People, about being a DJ and being out in New York in the 90s, which was this great time to be out. And Prince was kind of always, when he was in town, he was always out. So yeah, if you were DJing a club and, if it was sort of like the hot club, you would probably have a Prince story. I have a couple. They're, sadly, they're both very embarrassing for me. But I wish it was like Prince just came up and was like, "Oh, you're killing it." Actually, one time, the closest I got to that, Prince came into this club that I was DJing called The Bank. It was on East Houston and Avenue A. And I didn't see him, but the word comes in, somebody's in the club, Prince here, it gets to you in the booth. The booth was up on the balcony, and I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm going to play a song that's going to make Prince have to come up to the DJ booth and ask what I was playing. Like, if that's possible, can I play something so funky? Prince is going to have to be like, what the fuck are you playing? So I played this song. It was like this, it was kind of obscure Latin funk record from the 70s that starts like a salsa, but then goes into this break beat. And sure enough, when the beat, the hard part of the beat comes in, I see not Prince, but it's because, the club is crowded and he's 5'4". I see these two giant security guys, like towers, coming slowly towards me. Like, that's got to be Prince, being flanked by these dudes. So he's standing there. There was a rope about there by the DJ booth, and Prince was kind of standing there like very Prince, like kind of like, are you going to invite me in, or it's Prince, So obviously I'm freaking out, and let me just preface everything by saying Prince is one of my all-time genius. I've already at this point spent 8 years playing every record he's ever made. So he comes in, he's like, "What's that?" So I show him the cover, and then I start to cue up my next record, which is Stevie Wonder, All I Do. But as a DJ in that vinyl era, you couldn't play album cuts because they were pressed too low. They would feed back in the club. So I was playing a bootleg 12-inch of Stevie Wonder, All I Do. And this was at the time that Prince was on his like absolute anti-bootlegging crusade. Like, this was this thing, like it was like his main, and he goes, "What's that?" And I go, "Oh, it's a Stevie Wonder, All I Do." He goes, "Why is it on that fucking orange label? It looks like it's from Kinko's, And I'm like, right, it's a bootleg, but it's actually only because I own it on every format and this thing. But when I DJ in clubs, I have to play this bootleg because it's the only thing that I could." Then he's just like, he starts to take out his phone. I don't know what StarTAC or what the hell phone people had in that thing, but he takes out and he starts to, I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm going to have to call Stevie Wonder and wake him up in the middle of the night and tell him that there's a DJ in New York playing a bootleg of one of his songs." And I was like, no, sir, please don't do that. And he was like, "I'm just fucking with you." He took the phone away. And that was one of my couple of like Prince run-ins. I also remember a couple years later, this is not in the book, but I was playing at a party for him, and I played the song "Sexy Motherfucker," which is like a Prince song I love. And at that point, he had become a Jehovah's Witness. So like they don't curse. So like security comes running up to the booth like, "Prince would appreciate if you take that record off right now." And I'm like, "Of course." And I'm like looking quickly for something to get out. I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if jack you off is still kosher. Technically, it's not. There's not cursing. Anyway,
I'm curious on a basketball level with you.
Yeah.
When was the last time you were, maybe starstruck is the wrong word, but when is the last time you were like on the court with somebody and you were like, I can't believe I'm playing with this person?
I'd probably say every day, like I shared the court with Kobe. And just because growing up, being a Laker fan, like, you know, not having cable as a kid and, you know, you only have like the local channels or whatever. So like the Lakers were the only team that like played like national television like most of the time. So growing up, seeing that, being a Kobe fan, being a Laker fan, and then, you know, getting drafted by the Lakers and playing, you know, sharing the court with him every single day, it didn't feel real. Like it was surreal. It was like, is this person real? Like, is he human? Every time he said anything, did anything, like you're watching his every single move. Like you're in a plane, you're like, oh shit, Kobe's getting up to go to the bathroom. Like, you know, it's like one of those type feelings. So it's just like, yeah, that was probably the last time I
When he
felt
would
like
get mad
that.
at you, would it like hurt extra?
Oh, it was painful. It was painful. Like he many a times cussed me out, and it stuck with me. Like it would go home, it would ruin my day. It was like, you know, like me coming home from school and my mom, you know, getting on me or something like that. Like, but
or
it
Prince
was,
yelling at you.
yeah, you know. So it was like, you know, you got this guy who's your idol, and you don't want to do anything to disappoint him, and you know, it's just like you have that type of feeling, and he's like, motherfucker, like, the fuck are you doing? Like, get in the gym, like, da-da-da, you know? So it's just like, whatever. But that type of tough love is what I needed early in my career, and it helped me, you know, to be where I am now.
Of all the sort of traits, anyone who's sort of played with Kobe, played against Kobe, spent time with him on the court, his level of his attention to detail and his level of focus is something that seems to stand out even amongst all of his peers across sport, not just basketball. Was there something you picked up from him early on that, in that regard, that you feel like has stuck with you?
Yeah, I just think his approach and how he works, like I always thought I worked hard until I was around somebody who worked harder. That's just like what it was with him. Like I didn't understand getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and, you know, working the way he did. But I think what it allowed me to do is, like, I think when you love something, you become super obsessive about it. So it doesn't necessarily feel like work. So it's just like, I can be in the gym or I can watch basketball all day or I can work out all day. And I remember the season was ending and, you know, I'm getting back to, you know, my routine of preparing for the next season, this past summer. And my boy, he hit me. He was like, bro, like, you're going to burn yourself out. And I'm like, no, the fuck I'm not. Like, this is what I love to do, you know? So it's just like that level of obsessiveness and seeing him and how obsessive he was with his craft. It was like, there was no reason to worry about like burnout. It was just, he was every day stacking days trying to perfect his craft. And he was just always so present in the moment that he loved it. And I think that's one thing that I took from him, but I feel like I could only take that from him because I just love the game of basketball like he did. So,
Mark, I feel like you've worked with dozens and dozens of people in your field who sort of share these traits.
Yeah.
Is there something that sort of stands out that seems similar to you?
Well, yeah. I mean, as you were saying that, like I'd completely, fully relate because from the first 25 years of my career, I was completely work obsessed. I mean, like in the beginning, DJing, yes, but when I got into producing and the first 5 years, you're trying to just like make your name. So you're grinding because you want to get put on. But it's such a tricky thing when you really love the thing that you do because it's really hard to like ever switch it off because you're just like you being in the studio till 3, 4, 5 in the morning because you actually also love doing it. And it's like, it was only once I had kids and a family like 3 years ago, and I was married once before, but that probably part of that reason didn't work because like I didn't know how to switch off the work thing, you know? So I think that that obsession is like when you do love what you do, it's amazing, but it's also at that point where you're like, well, fuck, when do I go home then?
Mm-hmm.
I'm always curious about this with, with these guys, it's like they play. The game starts at 7:30. You're showing up at whatever, 5 o'clock for pregame. The game starts at 7:30. You have 4 quarters. That doesn't change. What happens on the court will change, but like at the end of the day, it's like the lines are drawn. When it comes to something like putting a record out, you don't really, even if someone gives you a deadline, you can kind of blow through it.
Yeah.
So like in terms of being like, this is actually ready for the world to see and letting go. And like how did you figure out how to get to that point where you could do it?
When the label pries it from my dead hands. No, I think, one of the records that was really like that was probably Uptown Funk. Like we worked on that song for about 7 months because Bruno was on tour, he was traveling around. The first night we wrote it, it really just came out of this like jam and we had the first verse and we were all excited. You're excited because like you only have this 1 minute demo. I mean, this is so old school that like you have the CD that you burn and you listen to it in the car 18 times on the way home and because it feels good. And every time we got back in the studio, we never were able to recreate that magic, that feeling of the spontaneity. So we kept going back in and we'd go in the studio sometimes for 3 days and all we get is like one line out of it. I mean, at one point we brought in like DJ Quick, Mystical, like so many people, like who's going to like help us unlock this thing? And then when it was finally, we went to Toronto because Bruno had a show at Air Canada and we were in the studio and it was like the last time that we listened to it. And I remember being able to listen for 3.5 minutes or whatever it was in our arms and being like, this is good enough now. But you never really know. At some point, you do just have to fucking let go,
Did you feel like mentally, I mean, you've talked about your own sort of journey about anxiety, letting go in general, but did you feel like there was a point in your career where that became easier for you?
Yeah. It took me a while to get to that point, but I think last year, to be honest, allowing myself just to be present, all the time has been huge for me. And I get a lot of it from my mother. Like her being a single parent, she was like always constantly worried about me and my sister, making sure we had everything we needed. So like, I think naturally I've always been like a worrier or, you work so hard, you worry about the future. You're like, man, I want this to pay off. And you can't really control any of that. You know what I mean? You can only control, where you're at in the moment. And it took me a while to get there, but I think last year was like a huge like breakthrough for me with that. And I think it's just allowed me to enjoy life. And I think that's kind of like we talk about that balance is where I've been able to find that balance. It's like, all right, if I'm playing basketball, I'm playing basketball. If I'm eating dinner, I'm eating dinner. If I'm playing with my kids, my daughter, my sons, that's what I'm doing in the moment. My mind's not really focused on anything else. So I think just allowing myself to be present has, really helped me find that balance and, kind of get rid of that.
You've talked about this before about how the New York experience, there's a lot of highs and we'll get into some of the highs, but it also is like a microscope. I mean, when you're here, you're dealing with craziness all the time. Their Knicks are dealing with it right now. It's like they're 500 and people are like freaking the fuck out. Right. Yeah. So like, do you feel like some of this is just being like, once you get away from that and you just get to a place where, not that the fans in Minnesota don't care, they care a lot and the team's really good. People's hair isn't on fire all the time. It's like if you guys have a couple losses, it doesn't turn into a meltdown. Do you feel like that sort of added to it?
Yeah, I think just change of environment, change of, scenery. I think, when you're somewhere for a long time, you that's all you see is that bubble. And I think just me, like I remember the first time I traveled out of the country, I went to Italy. It was such a eye-opening experience. I always wanted to go there, but it was such an eye-opening experience. But all I was used to was off-season, going back to Dallas, like being around family, friends, and then I went and saw something different. And I'm like, oh, these people live completely different. Like their values are completely different. So I think being in a different environment, being in a different, workplace, coach, people, in the city, it was just like refreshing for me.
What do you think about the microscope stuff? Because you deal with people who are under it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not under the same pressure like a Bruno Mars or Miley Cyrus or someone, but I feel it. I think we all feel it. You achieve a certain level of success, whatever it is relative to your thing. You're like, how do I keep this? And then when you do have anxiety and all that stuff, you're like, am I making these decisions motivated by fear? Am I taking this project? Because what will happen if I don't take this project, as opposed to being like, I can't wait to produce this record. So there's all of that. But I think that, I don't know if the microscope, like, yes, of course, New York, like, I can't compare what I go through to like playing in the Garden and, you know, having like a city of how many people? 10 million people think that like they're entitled to like, you know, everything about what you do. I don't know. It's the craziest thing to me. Like, I think about it with athletes, and like, I was thinking about it on the way here. I was like, yes, Taylor Swift has a bad show. Like, there's going to be 60,000 fans that are like bummed out, but like, you have a stomach virus or some shit happens to you, or you have a bad day and it goes on and somehow gets into the court. There's like 10 million people that are like, man, this fucker ruined my night. Like, it's just, I know, and I know you're so primed and you're amazing and have a thick skin and you're primed for it. But I was definitely thinking about it on the way here. That level of pressure is crazy, because I don't know if Minnesota fans or other things are less entitled, but as a New York fan, we are fucking entitled as fuck. But yeah, that microscope is nuts, but I also love it because it does push me, and I do feed off of it. And New York is the city that I've lived other places, worked places, but I love the rat race, the pace of New York. It somehow does drive me in a good way.
I was going to say that to you. I mean, you've had this unique experience now, and you're having an incredible, we'll get to it later, but you're having an incredible season at the moment. You've had an incredible last 2 years, but you've dealt with this in LA. You get drafted to LA with the Lakers. You've had LA and here. Yeah. So like, that is like, you're not getting any bigger than that between those two. And so does that, even in retrospect, because there's a lot of dark moments, but like in retrospect, how that primed you for basically what was to come, because it's almost like you got the hardest part out of the way first, and then everything is kind of like house money after that.
Yeah, I mean, even before that, like going to the University of Kentucky, one of the best colleges, for me, the best college, but just the level of expectation there. Like, I remember going there because it was 20,000 sold out every single night. And I was like, I want to play on that stage. But with that comes, responsibility. So I remember us being on a losing streak and coming back home, and, fans outside of our dorm saying like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, cussing us out, like stuff like that. So, I mean, it definitely creates like thick skin and stuff like that. But I think it allows you a level of focus to kind of just block out the noise and focus on, the main thing. Like, I mean, it's still the same game that I played, growing up outside my grandmother's trailer, and her saying she was my first coach, and me visualizing taking the last shot as a kid. It's the same game. So, it kind of just is a reminder to just like block out the noise and, do what you love.
I was thinking about that because it's like, I was walking past this yesterday. I guess people still had their Halloween decorations up, like downtown. And there was just this like 7 skeletons like crawling down a brownstone building, and they were all in Knick jerseys, and it said "Once a Knick, always a Knick." So it was like cadaver, like literally skeletons. And I was like, that is such a unusual. I'm sure there's other sports fans who feel have just as much love for like great, alumni from their team, but that is such a peculiarly New York, that just that phrase, once a Knick, always a Knick.
Trust me, like, anything I do still to this day somehow gets tied back into New York. So it's just never.
New York will always love you. I think like the majority of New York fans who have a brain are like so psyched to see you thriving, doing so well in Minnesota. But it's like, I mean, I have like, this is so stalkerish, but I brought this because I like I didn't want to not have it ready or be like thumbing through 80,000 photos on my phone. Like, oh, it's just this one. Let me find it. But I have this painting. Do you remember this woman, Isabella, who did all these portraits of Knicks players? Yeah. So I have this portrait in my house.
Oh, that's sick.
Of like, it's probably like I don't want to get freaked out. It's not like the whole wall, but it's like this big, and it's like. It's 30 and it's a beautiful painting and you look great in it, but it's like there's something, yes, I think like the Knicks that we love and really do something for the city, like, will stay in everybody's hearts. It's like
It's always
Yeah.
a be home, man. So.
When did you become
Such an obsessive stalker fan of
Yeah.
Julius as well.
Yeah, we're just a fan, like a real fan, not just an observer.
Yeah, I think it was in the late 90s. You know, I came here from England when I was 8. So I was really bad at all the sports, like baseball, basketball. Everybody had been playing these sports forever. I was so uncoordinated. So I did wrestling and ran cross country, like just the things that are like, all right, if you suit up, you can be on the team. But then there was that time in the 92 or 93 when the Rangers and the Knicks were both in the finals, and it was super exciting. And I got into it there. But then through the mid 90s, then I became obsessive, and I would fly to Indiana for playoff games because Reggie Miller's wife Marita would like go to the clubs that I DJ'd at, and she would like sneakily get us tickets. I mean, they were like in the nosebleeds, but we would go to Market Square or wherever the hell it was, and then even the night that the Knicks lost to the Spurs in the finals, it was a Friday night, and I was DJing at this club called Life, which was like the hottest club in New York at the time, and the whole fucking Spurs came down to like celebrate, and I'm like in tears, like DJing some Will Perdue or Luke Longley, one of those like gangly dudes, just like dancing with like this girl, just like, you know, it's 4 feet shorter than him in front of me. And
You should have played every bad record.
I
You should have made the worst party
Just
ever.
take the party.
But yeah, and then I've lived back in England for 10 years, so I kind of lost touch. But that thing when you came in, and what, it was 2019, or that was the start of this wonderful like thing that's being so excited to be.
Were you EPL? Were you soccer when you were in London at all, or no?
I was like my dad's team forever is Chelsea, and this was way before like the Abramovich money when they got amazing again. So like they were kind of like a rough and tumble. They were always in the Premiership, but they were kind of rough and tumble team. So we go to all those games. But my dad is so diehard. Like he takes me, if they lose, like he doesn't take me again for the year. So it's like I go to a couple games when I'm home.
Thanks to DraftKings for sponsoring the show. NBA season is in full swing. From courtside to your phone, catch all the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. The place to bet on NBA stars this season. New customers bet just $5 and get 3 months of NBA League Pass. Plus, score $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. I was looking at some futures, my favorite thing on the DraftKings app, earlier today. We're taping this on Wednesday, so these are obviously subject to change, but NBA Eastern Conference Finals future winners. I'm going to read this. Cleveland Cavaliers plus 195, New York Knicks plus 340, Philadelphia 76ers plus 750, Orlando Magic plus 1100, Milwaukee Bucks plus 1100, Detroit Pistons plus 1300, Atlanta Hawks plus 1300, Boston Celtics plus 1600, Miami Heat plus 2500, Chicago Bulls plus 3500. That last one is what is interesting to me. The Bulls are currently 6-1, 7th in offensive rating, 7th in net rating. I don't think the Boston Celtics are trying to make the playoffs this year. I don't know what's going to happen with the Atlanta Hawks. There's a lot of other question marks in some of these other teams that I've named. It seems like that Chicago Bulls pick has some value to me, and we will have some of those guys on the show in the very near future to talk about their hot start. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code YoungMan. That's code YOUNGMAN. Bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass, plus get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. How did you build up the stamina to be out this late?
I don't know if I could do it anymore. Like now, like I'm like, oh, now I know why it's called a disco nap, because I have to like take a nap in the evening if I'm DJing or something. It's crazy to think that I used to do those hours like it was nothing. Like you finish DJing at 3 or 4 in the morning, you've had a couple drinks, you got on this high for just rocking the room, and everybody's gone home. What do? Well, if you're me, you went looking for the after hours or maybe the dealer or whatever it was. So like in my 20s, in my 30s, it was not a way to live that I would recommend to anybody. But yeah, now when I DJ out, it's fucking, I start to have a panic attack thinking about like how late I'm going to be out.
So what was the transition from just kind of this lifestyle you're describing to I'm going to lock in with an artist. I'm going to be like, I want to produce this record. I want to produce this full, album with them, whatever it may be. And I'm going to stop because you can't do both. I mean, it's hard to do both. So like, how did that switch happen?
I always wanted to make music, and I got kind of like, I fell in love with DJing for 6 years. That was just what I did 7 years. But that's always what I wanted to be doing, was making records. And I was doing little remixes here and there for De La Soul and things, but nothing that blew up. And then I was DJing in a club one night, and at that point I become known for playing not only Biggie and EPMD, but AC/DC and Shaka Khan. And this guy came up to me, this very cool manager who's no longer here, Dominic Trenier, who managed D'Angelo. And he had this crazy voice. He was like, "Go!" He sounded like he'd been gargling razor blades since the 80s. And he was like, "I got this white chick on my label, and I don't know what the album's supposed to sound like, but it's supposed to sound like the way you DJ. EPMD, Biggie, Shaka Khan, all that shit." So it's like, cool, bring her by the house. And it was this artist, this amazing singer, Nika Costa. And we did that. That was my first record I produced, and it was on D'Angelo's label. But still, I never really had my first success. I was in my early 30s, and I was still trying to juggle. And at the time, I had a label with Rich Kleiman, and Rich and
Shout out to Rich.
Shout out to Rich. And, we were trying to get this label off the ground, and he just kind of wanted to go into sports. I just wanted to be making music, and then 9 to 5 would try and run the label. I'd take a walk around the block, and then I'd make music from 6 to 2. But that was right around when I met Amy Winehouse, and I met and Lily Allen, and some very talented people, which was great coincidence, and kind of, luck is timing, meeting, preparation, or whatever you call it.
Did you know with Back to Black right away, like what it was going to be?
I just remember it, and I have to put Rich on blast for this, because Rich is the most, because he's one of my best friends, and we're just so close he was my manager for so long. And I remember in the schedule for so long, he would write my schedule. I was like, "Rich, it's not Amy Wineman, it's Amy Winehouse. You have to put a name." I mean, nobody knew who she was, so it was not, it's not crazy that he wouldn't put that. But did I have any idea it was going to be?
Yeah.
No, because I had never had any success, and I had only really kind of had a string of not massive failures, but failures. So I had no reason at that point to think that anything I did was going to be big, but I knew in the room we felt amazing about it. And I knew anybody who happened to come in would go, "What the fuck is that shit?" Like, I remember playing her A&R guy the demo of Rehab for the first time. And this guy, Darkest Bees, he's awesome, and he's like Jamaican. So it starts... "They're trying to make me go." He goes, "Boom, boom, boom, rewind!" Like he's like at Notting Hill Carnival or some shit. And I was like, "What?" He was like, "This shit's incredible. Bring it back." And I was like, but because I had never had a success, and I probably almost relegated myself in my brain to be like, "I'm never going to probably have success producing music commercially, so I'll just make the shit that I like." And that's where we were when we made Back to Black. And that is always the best place you can make art from, like the purest place. And once you have a success, it's very hard to even get back there.
We did an episode with Flea and Austin Reeves a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about sort of the difference in managing your day-to-day existence as an artist versus an athlete. And like the schedule stuff, I think that we talked about before is important, but I'm also curious, I'm curious your perspective on this, what you go through with teammates, where you have a teammate go from being like, okay, maybe they're a rookie or they're a second-year guy and they haven't played very much, to all of a sudden they blow up, and their life changes and everything changes, and how the people around them change, how they manage all of that. And now that you've seen this, and again, it's like, this is the sort of the fortunate part about getting drafted to the Lakers and playing with Kobe is like, you see it on day one as you have that experience. But what's your advice, even just about like, basically keeping a level of stability so they don't, get knocked off their bearings at all?
I don't know if anything can really prepare you for it, to be honest. I think it's a lot of trial and error, and you just got to kind of go through it. I think experience is the best teacher. I feel like I tell people all the time, like, there's certain things that I know now that I wish I could have handled differently 5 years ago or 2 years ago or whatever, but it's just like experience in life. You kind of go through it, but just keep the main thing, like do what got you there, which is obviously in my case is playing well basketball, like staying in the gym. Like, so I think just keeping that the main thing, and then finding a way to balance everything else out.
As shitty as it was at the time, do you feel like there was the injury, your rookie year, he broke his leg first game of the year, rookie year. Do you feel like there were things mentally that even if you had to get through them at that point were probably helpful in terms of like lessons?
I feel like me breaking my leg was like the biggest blessing ever. Like, as crazy as that sounds, because it's a lot to be a 19-year-old kid in LA playing with Kobe. You know, you're making a lot of money now and you're just on your own. That's a big adjustment. And, you know, it was tough. And I don't know if mentally and physically, obviously I was hurt, but I don't know if mentally I was really ready for that jump. You know, I just kind of had no choice but to, you know, go to the NBA. I mean, it was a tough adjustment because I think the biggest thing is you're starting over. Like, you're used to, you know, high school, you're the man. You know, you go to college, you're the guy. And now you go to the NBA, it's like, no, you're not the guy. Like, you're starting from ground zero and you got to work your way up. And mentally, like, that can take a toll like that. Like, for me, that created a lot of anxiety. Like, am I worthy? Am I good enough? Am I, you know, do I have what it takes? That was like the toughest adjustment for me. So like me breaking my leg kind of allowed me just like reset and just watch and learn and just like evaluate. So like the next year, like I was able to come back. I knew how to work. I knew how to prepare. I knew the grind of like what it took from game to game and just how to be a professional.
Outside of Kobe, did you have vets that were?
You consider Nick Young a vet? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, to be honest, like Carlos Boozer was a great vet for me. Like he was like the guy that was in my position that, you know, had a lot of success that I can learn from. Lou Will, like he was a great vet. You know what I mean? So I had a couple guys, yeah.
I feel like you would have run into Nick out. It's like Mark has his own Nick story.
No, that was probably like a little bit after my era, like, but no, I don't have a good Nick Young story. It's not too late.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's definitely not too late.
There's still time. Do you think that the 57 at MSG, was that your Knicks highlight? Do you have a moment do you look at as like this was your favorite?
That was a fun one. You know, ironically against the Timberwolves. But yeah, that was a fun one for sure. I would say, like, to be honest, like the game winner versus Miami was cool in Miami. But I really honestly think my highlight was the year I won Most Improved and my son coming to our practice and giving me the award. Like, that was like the coolest thing for me. Just sharing that moment with him because he's, you know, they're the ones who sacrifice so much.
Yeah.
You know, my wife, my kids, they allow me to be obsessive and, you know, only get to do this for a certain amount of time. So, like, to be able to, like, see all my hard work pay off and their sacrifice pay off, and then for him to come to practice and surprise me with the award was like the coolest thing ever for me. So that probably was my highlight, to be honest.
So the last couple of years, this year in particular, I mean, they've been off to an incredible start. We can, you know, run through the numbers if we want, but like last night we were joking, you know, before we started taping, it's like he sleepwalking the first half and ends up with a triple-double. And this is what the whole year has been so far. Yeah. But this has been coming since this Most Improved year. I mean, this has been a consistent thing. Did you feel like there was a basketball shift that you made that was like, it could be big or small, that you think has sort of contributed to this jump?
To be honest, no. Like, I think me being around Kobe was like very big for me, like early in my career, because I learned how to work. So I'm in year 12 now. And in year one, if guys were better than me, I was eventually going to catch them because I just stacked days and I just knew how to work. And if you weren't better than me, then you no way you're going to catch me. You know what I mean? So I think it's just kind of been a progression year after year after year. It was just like, all right, my whole mindset every single year was like, let me just be a little bit better than I was last year. Like, what can I take from last year? What can I learn and continue to get better? So I think I'm just a product of 12 years of just stacking days. And I think it's just allowed me to just continue to progress and be, you know, where I am now. I think also too, like what was huge for me was COVID. we didn't have basketball for like 8 months. So all I could do was work out. And, that was literally my day. Like wake up, work out, eat, hang out with the family, work out. So it just allowed me just to be in the gym. But I just think just stacking days. And I think, over a period of time in any profession or whatever it is, like you just are consistent with how you work. With anything, like you'll get to where you want to get to.
I'm curious because I think you would be on this list if we were to do a top 6 or a top 10 or whatever it is. If we did at All-Star, wherever, we did the one-on-one tournament. Yeah. Like a one-on-one, like if you're just playing a one-on-one with him, he's a matchup nightmare for everybody. And this has been part of the thing this season, especially because Ant has been out. Yeah. It's just been like, you can't put a big on him because he'll blow by you. And you can't put somebody too small on him because they're not big enough to sort of deal with it. Who else is on that list for you? Ooh. Take yourself out of it.
Like right now?
Yeah. Like say if we need 6.
Wemby. Yeah, Wemby's on there for sure. Kyrie Irving is on there for sure. Luka Doncic, it's ridiculous. KD, Anthony Edwards, ridiculous. Kawhi Leonard. Yeah. It's just like those guys that can just do everything.
What was your first Ant experience like? Have you met him?
I've never met him, no.
He's a very charismatic person.
Yeah.
Man, Ant is like unbelievable. Like, I remember I probably can't say my first experience with him, like exactly word for word what he said. But what I will say about Ant is like just not knowing him and then, getting to Minnesota for the first time and just seeing how like good of a person he is. Like he's like an unbelievable teammate. And like for somebody to be like, I've been around assholes, like guys like, I love Kobe. Kobe was an asshole, bro. Like, you know what I mean? And like, that is my brother. I love him to death. But like, that was just his mentality. Like he was just like a no BS, no nonsense, like, but like tough love type mentor. Like Ant, like he has like the ultimate competitive drive, but he is like your biggest fan, like biggest like cheerleader, like teammate. Like he wants to see you succeed. Like,
is that a generational thing? I think about that because like I feel like when I watch, it's like Kobe was the last, like in that Jordan way that just like doesn't give a fuck about anybody else's feelings. I'm like, is it because we are in the more, I don't want to say like we're enlightened or more therapized, but men are just like sort of evolving. And sometimes you think like, is it a real evolution? Is it kind of the way we talk about it? Because human nature is still human nature. But do you feel like that is a generational thing that there, like, will there be another asshole? Like, I mean, in the great way, the asshole legends that we love.
That's a great question. I think it is. I think just in human nature, I think we've learned how to communicate maybe better.
Yeah.
Like in a sense, like we're more aware. And
because for me watching and like I assume that he kind of is the asshole in the way that you love. So you telling me that he's not, I'm like, oh, like fuck, are all the assholes gone? Like, you know.
Yeah. And I think like it's also like situational too. Like Kobe was an asshole, but like he was also like very charismatic too. Like, and I think that was like the development in his career. It was like, oh no, like I have to learn how to lead Pau Gasol different. I have to learn how to lead Andrew Bynum different. So like Ant is like super, super charismatic, but like when it comes to that competitive drive of like, I want to take your head off every single night, he has the same thing Kobe has. Like he is the ultimate competitor. Like I remember our first practice and I'm coming back from injury and like this is my first time like, I dislocated my shoulder. So this is like really my first time like playing. And we're in practice and coach splits us up. We're on different teams. And he's kicking my ass, bro. And he was like, come here, Ju. He was like, what the fuck you think this is? Like, he's talking crazy. I went home. He don't know this. I went home. I'm pissed. I'm like, bro, like, ain't no way. Like, I'm not letting this happen. So, like, he got that same competitive drive, but, like, also, like, early in the season, I hit a game winner versus Phoenix in Minnesota, and he's, like, the first person running up to me. Hugging me, like, welcome to Minnesota, Jew. Hell yeah. Like, playing songs in the locker room. My name went like, you know what I mean? So he's your biggest cheerleader in that sense, but he's still like, he wants to win.
Yeah.
You know, and he works that way too. So
it is a super interesting question about whether that has, because I just think about even with this show, you know, it's like we sort of have everybody from around the league come on the show, and if we were to look at like Team USA, for example, the guys on Team USA, like there isn't an asshole. There isn't like, oh my God, that person is like, this person is wired in the way that you're describing. And I also wonder if maybe some of that is, I think the communication thing is really important. And then also like with how social media is, with how like every single thing gets picked up all the time. Yeah. It's a lot harder to get away with that than you like the stuff that Jordan was doing in the 90s. If there was Twitter, you know?
Yeah. I think that's what, I mean, obviously before the Kendrick and Drake thing really went nuclear, like I think I kind of appreciate that about Kendrick with Control and stuff. It's like, I need a little bit of this fire to like, I have to come at everybody every now and then because that's my creative like kind of juice. Cause it seemed like, okay, I'm sure that maybe they're all in a room. Everybody's kind of all right, you know, but on record, cause hip hop, maybe more than any other kind of music, just because there are no like real beef records in classic rock. Like Led Zeppelin might have hated Fleetwood Mac, but they weren't like, you know, taking shots on record, but which would have been kind of amazing, actually. Yeah, Lindsay, you bitch. Sure. But I think that you kind of like that, but then also like, are we a kind of better society because we're not all like, I mean, I don't know. Social media also sometimes does bring out the worst in people too, because it's easy to insult and take shots when you're not in front of somebody.
How do you, if you're working with somebody, because you work with so many different types of people, and these are the most talented artists in the world, but you know, some of them have their own, whether it's an asshole or they're just difficult or whatever you want to call it. Like not everyone is easy to deal with all the time. How have you kind of learned to harness that?
I've been really lucky in a way that actually I haven't like ever been. All the people that I've really made music with and got deep with, whatever, Bruno, Gaga, Amy, people like, they're not assholes. And I don't ever like to give anybody a pass. Like for the level of fame they have, they're actually a good person. It's like, you should just be a good person anyway. The greatest artists are insanely competitive. They're probably really like, they have a certain amount of insecurity, and that's what's driven them to be as great as they are. So everybody's this balance of being a superhero on the outside with this kind of soft core, right? Like, you know, that's probably what makes their art so great. But as a producer in a room with those people, you're just there to keep the outside world completely out, make them feel as safe and this super power version of themselves as possible.
I feel like there is probably some comp with the locker room stuff there about just being like, you got like the outside noise component. Even we were talking about the microscope thing before, just being like, if you're down 2-1 in the Western Conference Finals, you can't be reading every single fucking blogger take on why you're not doing this and isn't it like, you got to know how to like get that out. Because if people are hearing that, I feel like you got no chance. Like mentally you got no chance.
Do you read the interviews? Can you kind of not help it? I find like I can't help it, even though I know, like you said, I should have.
Yeah, I mean, people who say they're not seeing it, they're lying. Like, you're going to see it. Right. Unless you just completely are off of social media or whatever, you're going to see something. So, I mean, it's impossible not to see it. But I think the biggest thing is like your relationship like with your teammates. And you knowing like, all right, this guy has my back. I have his back. And that's like the nice thing that we had in New York. Like, it's important like to have that in New York because there is so much noise. And then like here in Minnesota, like that's one of the things I appreciated is like how close knit of a group we are, from not just players, but like organization, coaching staff, like everybody just trying to protect each other and get the best out of each other. So.
We're going to wrap in a second, but I always wanted to ask you this. As someone who's won 10 Grammys, Oscar, probably all kinds of other stuff.
9, but I like your version better.
10 Grammys.
He's speaking
do you think that
existence.
Awards, do awards matter?
I thought that I would never, because it all came to me late, I really didn't think that I would ever win a Grammy. I'm not like, and it didn't matter. The Beatles never won a Grammy when they were around. They won it all later. And I remember the first time I won, it was like that dream that you have like in school, like where the teacher's saying your name, but you don't hear it. Like they read off the things for producer of the year. And he said my name, and I was just so out of it. And I remember like Rich climbing, shaking me, like, they said your name, like go up there. And that was the most amazing thing. And you think like each time, like, well, this will be the last one I win. And, you know, because what are the odds and what I'm working on? And, you know, then you do something that people like. So the awards are an amazing, very lovely, like tap on the thing. You did something good. We like what you do, but you absolutely cannot do it for them.
I think we'll close with this. I think for both of you, if you're giving like one specific thing, one specific piece of advice that you've learned that you feel like somebody watching this in your individual space, it could be the smallest thing in the world that you would just want to pass on to them. What do you think it would be in terms of how you guys have gotten where you are?
I would say it was sort of what I was talking about with the Amy thing. Like I chased some kind of success for so long, and it wasn't until, and they call it like the power of surrender or whatever. It wasn't until I was just like, you know what, it might never happen for me, so I might as well make the music that I love the most. And Rick Rubin says this, a lot of people say, it's like when you make the thing that you're the most excited about, that will probably be the thing that will resonate. So that's the thing that just always comes to mind when someone asks me.
Yeah, I would say just looking back on my career and, you know, working, and feeling like you're giving your all to something and working hard every single day. Obviously, like, have fun, enjoy working hard and stuff like that, but just try to be present. And I think that's something that's allowed me to like feel like I used to feel like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders. And I just don't feel that anymore. And I think being present has allowed me to do that. And I mean, what's the point of working so hard if you can't enjoy 30 minutes of quality time with your kids, or have a nice dinner out with your wife, or, you know, what's the point of going on vacation and you're worried about work? You know, so it's just like, yeah, work hard, chase your dream, be obsessive about your craft, but, you know, also allow yourself to be free of mind and just be present. Like, being here with you guys today has been amazing, you know, and I'll remember this obviously, but just cherishing every single moment. So
Thanks to DraftKings for sponsoring the show. Hey, basketball fans, your favorite NBA stars are back at it. Want to see Steph hit those long-range shots? Maybe watch Donovan Mitchell's explosive plays, or catch Next Generation with Cade Cunningham doing his thing? Well, we've got you covered. DraftKings Sportsbook, your official NBA betting partner, keeps the excitement going while other books call it quits. Bet quarters, player props, scoring runs, and more, all while the action unfolds. New customers bet just $5 and get 3 months of NBA League Pass. Plus, score $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. I was looking at the Western Conference futures, the division winners. The Northwest Division, we're taping this Wednesday. Obviously, everything's subject to change. The Wolves are playing the Knicks tonight at MSG. I think Ant is coming back, so we should get to see them close to full strength. The Northwest Division, people said this before the year, it is bearing out to be true so far. Thunder are minus 650, Nuggets plus 550, Wolves are plus 3,000, Trailblazers are plus 32,000, Jazz are plus 60,000. I would venture to say, I don't think it's a hot take to say the three best teams in the West are all in this division. That feels fair to me based off of health and the fact that the Thunder and Nuggets are probably the two prohibitive favorites to win the finals this year. But sometimes when you see this stuff listed out, you got to be sympathetic because Portland's pretty tough too. So it's going to be interesting to watch with Ant back how that changes. And you know, props to our guy in the show today, Julius Randle, for keeping them afloat with him gone. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code YoungMan. That's code YOUNGMAN to get $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins, plus 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Julius Randle, Mark Ronson. Until next time.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.